The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hi, everybody. Doug Billings here on the set of my show, The Right Side. We are in a nightmare. No doubt about it. No doubt about it at all. But I want to assure you of one thing, ladies and gentlemen. America is not on her deathbed. We can make it to 2022. We're already there. We can make it to 2024. It's right around the corner. And believe it or not, and contrary to how it might feel to you, I understand that it feels terrible. It is terrible. But America has been through worse. We've been through much worse than what Administrator Biden, he's not the president, and what the Communist Socialist Party has thrust upon us. We've been through worse as a nation, as a republic, and we will survive this. Look, we have before us a country, a republic, a nation inspired by God, our founding documents inspired by God, written by men, and we will prevail. It's going to be okay. Now, it's going to take you and me, we the people. We the people also happen to be the people of God. We will honor God by voting always and every time in every election, primary or the primary election or the main election. We will vote. We will always vote. To not vote dishonors God because our rights come from him. We have a pack of blessings on our back in this nation. We are still the light of hope, wonder, joy, meaning, and happiness to all the world, despite what's happening here. It's human nature sometimes to default to the negative. I understand that as well. But we conservatives, we know that through adversity, challenges, and tragedies, that blessings are waiting to be born. And that's the good news of it all. And that's what I wanted to leave you with today. Blessings waiting to be born in all of this, ladies and gentlemen. In the catastrophe and the chaos that we see thrust upon us, purposefully, by the way, this purposeful chaos, tragedy at the border where the Communist Socialist Party will claim that they lessen suffering and they increase human dignity by letting people flow through the borders unchecked, unvetted, and unfettered. We see now evidence of the obvious. That's not true. In fact, human dignity decreases and suffering increases when there's no vetting and structure to the immigration process at our borders. Child sex trafficking increases, drug trafficking increases, people that come into this country who want to do us harm, all of that increases. And there are people coming across the border, quite frankly, that want to blow stuff up. Now, when we default to the positive, we understand that we, the people, are meant and intended to be the leaders, the managers, and the stewards of this republic. That's what God has in mind. We, the people of God, conservatives, we have to get involved. And we haven't, if we're honest with ourselves, we haven't been involved since roughly the time of World War II. Those days are over. There's a national reawakening happening. The reawakening to many things, many issues within our government. But to summarize the awakening, I call it the great reawakening to the divine providence of God. And we're seeing it in such a fashion, such that has never been experienced before in this republic, even including and during the time of the founding fathers. The divine providence of God is creating victories for the conservative movement at astonishing pace and numbers. Now, it still requires patience. Not all of the progress is fast, but I would remind you that progress, no matter at what speed it is achieved, is still progress. And so let's bless ourselves with four primary virtues. The virtue of wisdom with a capital W, that we seek out wisdom from the Holy Spirit to understand, to wake up to the situation in America and around the world with regards to what the Communist Socialist Party is doing. Everything from the lies that they've told us, from the policies, the politics, and the platforms that they put forth, and that we become aware of the remedies to those things. Primarily, our involvement is the remedy. But wisdom from the Holy Spirit. Teach us, Lord, and give us wisdom. And then when we find and achieve the gift of wisdom, the virtue of wisdom, the blessing of wisdom, we must not react. No, we must reflect. So wisdom and then reflect. Reflect on it. Think about it. Let it percolate through you. Learn, bounce things off with your friends, your neighbors, your communities, people with whom you trust, and get other ideas about how you can become involved. So reflect on what wisdom teaches you. After wisdom and reflection, take action then. Peaceful action, action that involves your involvement at the local level. Look, I know that you go to work every day. You come home and you're tired. The last thing in the world that you want to do is to go to a 3-hour school board meeting and listen to the radical left spout off their platform, politics, and principles and their philosophies. But that's exactly what it's going to take. That's what I call determined patriotism. That's the hard work of it all. Getting involved every day after a long day's work, going to places of your local community that need your conservative voice. So action, wisdom, reflection, and action. And then finally, the fourth virtue that we all need to pursue relentlessly and bless ourselves with is the gift of patience. It's not always easy for me to be patient. I tend to be impatient. But this is one that we need, and to realize that slow progress is progress. And that in America, the judicial system, when we all cry out for justice, we have to understand that not all justice is speedy. It's not all expeditious. It's not all granted on a quick, fast track. So patience is required. It may be that some of the people that are involved in the situations that we have seen in this republic over the last few years won't see justice. And we have to give ourselves permission to let that go, but still pursue justice, if you know what I mean. We don't also then, with those four virtues in mind, wisdom, reflection, action, and patience, we're also, I think, reminded that we are a Christian nation founded upon Christian principles. There is no intent for any separation of church and state. That's a myth. That's a comment made by Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptist Association that's often and always from the radical left taken out of context. Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, all of the founding fathers, they fully intended this nation to be interwoven with Christian ideals and principles, that our public square, our public schools, the workplaces, politics itself would be infused with a sense of belief, faith, and divine providence. All you have to do is look at their personal writings to understand that, and look at early school curriculums in this country, from the colonial days to the early founding fathers themselves. God was intended to be part of the fabric of this society. So to say that there's supposed to be this mythical separation of church and state is not only intellectually immature, but it is historically and factually inaccurate. So remember these things, and remember that we're part of that great reawakening back to the divine providence of God himself. In the times where you think that we can't make it to 2024, that we need something to happen now, come in off that ledge of panic with me, my friends. Come on in into the room of safety. You'll discover that this republic is still, as I said, the beacon of light for hope, truth, justice, the American way, pursuit of liberty, life, happiness. We all have to participate in the rights that God gives us. That means we have to participate always in every election to vote. We do not honor God by giving up that vote or saying that, oh, I'm not going to vote if I think it's rigged. I'm going to exercise my First Amendment. You don't have any amendment right not to vote. You have a right to vote. In fact, you have a calling from God himself to vote. And think of the military, who have often gone to the battlefield and paid the ultimate sacrifice to defend the rights that come to us from God. We don't honor the men and women of the military either if we surrender our rights to vote. So on this day, on this primary election day in this republic where many of you in your states are participating in the primary election system, I encourage you to have hope. I encourage you to seek out wisdom. I encourage you to then seek out the ability to reflect on what that wisdom reveals to you. Then take action in your local community. Get involved. And I know it takes effort. That's why we call it determined patriotism over here on this show. We meet every day on the program in determined prayer and determined patriotism. And then finally, the gift and the virtue of patience. Grant yourself that gift. Give it to yourself as a present, as a gift. And you'll realize, I think, as many conservatives do, you see, we are the party of life. We're the party of hope, the pursuit of happiness and liberty, individual freedom. We're against medical tyranny. We're all for the Constitution and its rightful application. And we understand that in the midst of adversity, challenges, and tragedies, that there are blessings waiting to be born. That's what distinguishes us from the radical left. They can't think that way. When things don't go their way and they're faced with adversity, challenge, and tragedy, They have pallets of bricks delivered to street corners and they throw them through storefront windows. They set buildings on fire. They topple statues. They commit arson and anarchy. We're the party of decency, the party of life, the party of God. And there's great hope in all of that. It's not an ego statement to say that. That's simply the truth. So today and every day, as you look at what's going on in this country and around the world, remember, we are a covenant nation founded by God. The rest of the world looks to us for hope, light, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's not an ego statement either. We will survive this. We are not on our deathbeds. We are simply in a nightmare. And the good news is, where people most of the time don't wake up from their deathbeds, right? People always wake up from their nightmares. And we are on the cusp, I promise you, of the greatest reawakening to the divine providence of God that this republic has ever seen. And that includes, again, as I said, the time of the founding fathers themselves. You're in a blessed, wonderful time. The blessings that are waiting to be born upon us are incredible. Give yourselves permission to believe that, ladies and gentlemen. For the Republic, cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.